So the neck work for March, just using a ball. Now, if you don't have a Swiss ball, you could use a soccer ball. You could even use a basketball for it. It might be a bit firm, but it can still work. You can just use a wall and a towel for even a rotation one you could do slowly on it. But you're working the deep neck muscles, so the tongue stays on the roof of the mouth, the jaw stays closed. You're trying to really feel those deep muscles, and then you can walk your body back to make it harder. Now the static one will be like this. Then the dynamic one, you rotate the head slowly, trying to keep the shoulders square. So they seem like really simple, basic movements, and they are, but they're quite hard. And you really got to focus to get the right muscles working through the neck. And these ones are really important. They're often overlooked until people do have pain in their neck, but it's so important to keep the muscles, the deeper muscles of the neck, really healthy. Just if you're trying to work on handstands and work on, developing your upper body to be able to take force and load through there. So here's the other side. So you could just do this one with a towel as well. And then a slow rotation. Now the rotation's a bit harder with the towel, so you've got to kind of move the body to rotate and moving the body left to right here with the ball. But you might even just do like 10-second positions. So you might go 10 seconds here, so 10 seconds on each, and 10 seconds straight, 10 seconds turn, 10 seconds turn, so it's 30 seconds each side. Then we're going for a minute of calf raises. So your basic version would just be the straight calf raise. Then you can go into singular jumps and just take your time in between each one. Then you're doing more of a fast tempo, and then continuous, and then try and get higher. So trying to make sure everything's nice and stable and the force going through from your toe tips all the way up to the skull is being stabilized by all those tissues. And then you're really trying to get nice and high on every jump, and not letting that break and not jumping like that. You're really finishing with the hips. And then you come up, so you really use those glutes and have everything tying together to maximize that force. Don't rush into that if you haven't done the jumps for a while. Don't just go for the full minute. You might start off and do 20 seconds of that as jumps, and then do another 20 seconds of singular jumps broken up with a gap, and then finish with calf raises. Or you might just do the calf raises. Do what's right for you. Don't get too fatigued. You've got to walk for the next couple of days after, but it's about 2 days later it kicks in. It's quite sore, especially if you haven't done it for a while. But it is super important to keep that connective tissue through the Achilles healthy, flexible and pliable for life. As soon as that gets brittle, it's so prone to getting injured, and I've just seen it over and over, especially in males over 35, kind of 40, when they're in their mind they can still see themselves sprinting and playing sports aggressively, and then they've been sitting in a chair for 10 years, whatever, and haven't really conditioned their body, or they haven't done anything for a couple of years, and they just go out and they feel warm, they feel alright, and then they sprint, take off, and they tear their calf or their Achilles. It's a really nasty injury, and you don't come back 100%. Very rarely do I see people make a full recovery from that, and most of the times what I've seen is that after doing an injury like that, one calf is going to be smaller than the other, depending on how bad the tear is. But it's better to just keep your calves healthy, especially it's such a small investment to keep a certain level of conditioning in them. The other thing I do recommend, you can watch the video of it from the previous month. I film it every month. It's pretty basic unless I come up with some new stuff I want to share. But some form of running, walking or sprinting, doing that on a weekly basis. Now if you've got bad knees, it might be cycling and just some walking. Might be even swimming with some type of rhythmical gait. and then if you're doing long, slow, steady sustain, and then I recommend some fast, explosive sprinting as well, just to develop that and keep that in the system, so that way, if you can, the longer you can keep sprinting in your life, the healthier your body's going to be and the less likely you're going to be injured when you're going to do that. So I try and make sure that I do, even here it's only 16 metres, I'll just do a couple of sprints up and back, and do about 4 sets of that or something. It's not a lot, but it's just enough to keep it in the system, so that way I don't end up going a month without sprinting, which can easily happen when you're working 9 to 5 and you're doing a corporate job and people are going to the gym and lifting weights or doing yoga or whatever, but they haven't really run or sprinted, and they've kind of deconditioned that in their body, and then when you have to do it, you've got to run for something, you think you can do it, but then you hurt something because you have totally deconditioned your body. So you've got to keep that maintenance level there, and then if you've got time, condition it even further. But look after yourself, get videos back to me so that way I can coach you effectively, and I'll see you soon.